So hello and good morning. So my name's Laura Morgan and I am representing the Solano Resource Conservation District. If you've never heard of us before, we do a lot of environmental education and restoration in Solano County. So today is all about learning about the tiny critters that live in our waterways, in our creeks, in our streams, even in our rivers, because we do have some big rivers flowing through our county. And we call those, or I call them, mini beasts, because they kind of look like little miniature beasts swimming in our waterways. Another thing that you can call them are macro invertebrates. So macro means big, like you can see them with your eye, you can see them swimming around, although sometimes, even though you can see them with your eye, sometimes it kind of helps to have a little magnifying glass, even though they're pretty visible. So macro, big. Invertebrates means lacking a backbone. So we have a backbone, that is our spine. We have the vertebrae that make up our spine. These little critters that live in our waterways do not have a spine. So macroinvertebrates, little spineless critters that you can see with your naked eye. Okay, and today you just need something to write with, something to write on, and your noggin and your eyes. So today we are going to be using the tools that we learned last week, our observation making tools. And if you weren't here last week, don't worry, we'll do a quick reminder of what we learned last week. And today we're just going to be learning about the critters and writing, making some observations using words and drawing to write down exactly what we see today. Okay. And just as a reminder, if you're joining us on Zoom, that we will give you opportunities to come on and share. And I love it when people can come and join and share what they're observing. So if you do want to share something, I will ask you to raise your hand. So there's a little raise your hand feature at the bottom of the screen. So you can click that and we can allow you to come on and share with us what you're seeing, what you're thinking. We also have a chat function open. So if you want to write down a question, you want to write down a thought, please do so. And Allison is going to be monitoring that for me today. If you're on YouTube, like Allison mentioned, you can just leave comments below and we will try our best to answer those questions and comments. Okay. So last week we learned 3 major tools in making observation. So when making an observation, we always start our sentence with I notice. We don't want to use our opinion, right? So we can't say I notice that the little critters are beautiful, because that's not an observation, that's our opinion. So we want to say, I noticed that they're brown. I noticed that they're squiggling around, right? You can also use I wonder. So you can use that to ask a question. I wonder why that critter is squiggling around. I wonder why it's moving the way that it is, or it looks like the way that it does. So this is something to help us ask questions that we don't know the answers to. And the last one of my favorite observation making tools is it reminds me of. So that critter reminds me of my favorite dance move, right? So that's the making connection part. So you can use these tools today to help you better observe the critters that we are going to look at. Okay. Now, Allison, where are we on our critters? Are we almost ready to look at them?
Not quite. I'm still trying to get our friends on YouTube set up. I'm having a little technical difficulties there. So would you mind jumping ahead to your awesome videos?
Well, before I do that, I actually want everyone watching to try and imagine what these critters look like. So I just want you to close your eyes, maybe take a couple deep breaths. And I want you to imagine that you are in a creek, maybe like the creek behind me. So imagine that you are swimming through the creek and you're looking at little tiny critters in the creek. What do you imagine them to look like? Like just closing your eyes, using your full-on imagination. What do those critters look like? Are they like one big blob? Do they have a lot of different body parts? Do they have legs? If so, how many legs do you imagine them having? Do they have eyes? Are they hiding in something, or are they just swimming freely in the water? So I just want you to take a moment to imagine what these little aquatic mini beasts look like to you in your mind before actually seeing them on the screen. What do they look like? Oh, nice. I'm seeing a question from Layla that says, I wonder if the critters can breathe in the water. Huh, that's a really good question. Ooh, I see another question. I wonder if the critters are going to be scary. We'll have to find out. Any other questions or any other thoughts about what the critters in our waterways might actually look like? Oh, I see someone says, I wonder if the critters are in hiding. And we'll learn about that today. We'll talk about how some critters might hide and how some critters might not want to hide, right? So we'll explore that today. Oh, and I see someone responding to Layla's question. They said, I think that they have a place that keeps air in them. Interesting.
Okay, Miss Morgan, we are all set on YouTube. Hooray.
Yay!
So for our friends that are there, welcome. I'm Allison Martin, and I have Laura Morgan. She is Solano RCD's mini beast of the water environment expert, and I am also a curious explorer just like you today. So Miss Morgan, if you are ready, I can start showing my video if you want to pull off of your slideshow there.
Yeah, and I just want to say one more comment that I'm reading on Zoom, and it's saying, I wonder if the critters are in the creek permanently or if they're just visiting. So I'm going to try my best to cover all of these questions today. If you have questions, just type them in the chat and I will try to answer them. And I will also leave time at the very end of this presentation so that if I didn't get to any questions or if I forgot, remind me, please, and I will answer it then. Okay, so let's check out our mini beasts that we see here in Solano County. So Miss Allison actually went out to a creek by her house and she collected a bunch of different critters. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to pull out that notebook or that paper or your journal, something to write on, and pull out something to write with, like a pencil or a pen. If you have color pencils nearby, you can use that, whatever you want to use to make these observations. And we are going to show you a tray full of a ton of critters moving around and swimming around, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to look at their movement and look at how they're swimming, look at their colors, try to make those observations using the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and write and draw what you see in your notebook, okay? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay. Wow. That is so cool, Allison. You found this like right by your house?
I did. I found it, well, found all these guys in Cuda Creek, which is part in Solano County and in Yolo County. And I was there on Memorial Day with my family, and I noticed that there were all these kind of clam-like looking things in the water.
Whoa.
As well as things that reminded me of the snails that you see on land.
Wow, but they're in the water, huh?
Exactly, in the water. And it was weird because there were lots of different kinds. Like there's this big one, and then there are these little tiny ones. Let me see if I can find it. Like
Whoa.
This one right here that looks like it's wearing like an ice cream sundae hat, like chocolate ice cream hat.
Yeah, but backwards, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and I'm seeing like little things fluttering around your tray.
Yeah,
like
there's
moving,
some things that are moving really, really fast.
like moving really fast, and then other ones are moving really slow. Like some I can tell are that one, it has like a funny little tail, like a fan tail. That one's moving slower.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have a big fan tail. And you know what? It has a really, really big head too.
Wow.
And it reminds me of like those dragonflies and damselflies that we see on land. They have, you know, those really, really big heads and skinny bodies.
Yeah, they have those huge eyes.
Yeah, but I've never noticed if any of them have tails, like when they fly on land. Do they have tails? I've never noticed.
We'll have to explore that later today.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a question from Layla. She's saying, I wonder if the critters can go on land or if they have to stay in the water. So that's a really interesting question. Another one that says, are they harmful to humans or animals' body if someone drinks or swims in the water? Are they parasites? And Layla also said, I noticed that some critters are clam-like. Yeah. I'm loving all of this talking that's happening in the chat. This is really cool. Wow, and I'm noticing, Allison, that there's almost like a worm-like thing kind of crawling on the side.
Yeah, those things kind of, they're interesting. It's hard to see on my camera, but maybe when I pull up my microscope later, we can look. It actually looks like they have two eyes on like the triangular part of their head. So I'm going to try to get that under the microscope for us to look at.
Wow, now that I'm seeing one of those wormy looking things, they look really flat though. They don't look like a normal worm. I'm seeing like a whole bunch. Like now that I see one, it's like I see a lot.
Yeah, and this is kind of cool too, just for scale. That's my thumbnail. So that gives you an idea about how big these critters are.
Wow.
So I guess that's why you call them mini beasts, huh?
Yeah. And I have some really cool footage actually that I'll get to show, and we'll get to zoom in on some of these with your microscope that you brought today. And our friends will really get to see why I like to call them mini beasts. It's just for fun though. They're not like, I don't think they're scary or anything like that. I just think it's fun to call them that.
I don't know. This big one right here looks like it could attack something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I see some other people agree with me on that.
So remember, for those of us watching, I want you to be making those observations and writing them down. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to pick a critter in this tray. And if you want to share in 2 minutes, so at 10:20, if you want to share, you can press the raise your hand down below, and you can even come on with me and share with me what you're seeing. So 2 more minutes to finish up those observations.
And anybody on YouTube have questions?
Wow, and I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat. I wonder how big these creatures could grow. I noticed that most of the critters are brown. I noticed big ones move slower. Very cool. Yeah, so 1 more minute to finish making our observations, and then if you want to come on and share what you observe, please do. I want to hear from you. Wow, that one worm kind of like on the side of your tray, that wormy looking thing, it like really stretched out. Looks really big.
I see that.
It reminds me of like when I'm doing my stretches at home.
Uh-huh. I want to show everyone too. I thought this was pretty weird. It might be hard to see, but I'm going to try. Hold on. Sorry for the wiggles and the shakes. But I found this rock, and what I noticed about it was that there were a whole bunch of little rocks collected together.
Oh.
And what's interesting to me is there's actually a hole on the inside, so it made me wonder if something lives in it.
That's a great question.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
On just one rock, huh?
Yep.
You know, this makes me wonder how many tiny living things live in our waterway. Like, how many of them are there? Like, if you just went out and you just collected all this cool stuff in this one tiny spot, like, I wonder how much there is in our whole county, in all of Solano County. Okay, oh, I'm a minute late. So it is 10:21. Do you want to come on and share what you are observing and share with us maybe what your favorite critter is that we're seeing in this tray? I would love to hear from you. So if you want to share, please press the raise your hand button and we can let you come on and share.
Okay, let's go ahead and have James go first. So James, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi.
Hey, James.
Good morning. How's it going?
So good.
I have my class here with me on Google Meet watching, making their observations. So I have a student who really wants to present.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we turn on the camera for you too, or is sound okay?
I could share my screen if you want.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Yes, I'm so excited. I would love to see your students, James.
Thank you. Okay, so let's have Aiden, who really wanted to present first. So Aiden, do you want to present?
Hey, Aiden.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're presenting right now. Oh, never mind.
Yep.
Hey, Aiden. Nice to see you.
Hi. So the one that my question is that what is the one that looks like the shell? I like that one.
You like the one that's in the shell? So that is a kind of clam. It's a kind of clam that lives in freshwater. Kind of similar to the ones that people like to eat, but a lot smaller. We probably wouldn't want to eat these ones. But
Aiden.
maybe you can think about some other critters that would want to eat them that live out in our creeks. Can you think of any?
Is there any fish?
Yeah, heck yeah, especially in Poudre Creek. There's salmon that go in there sometimes, and trout, and all kinds of fish. So yeah, that's a great guess. Thanks, Aiden.
Thank you so much. Can we have one more student who really wants to go present?
I do.
Okay, Mason, really quickly, go ahead.
All right. Hey, Mason.
I was looking at I was going to say, I forgot what it's called, but it was like a kind of shellfish kind of thing.
It was a kind of shellfish kind of thing.
Not a clam, but it was like.
Did it have the little claws?
It had like snapper. Yeah, the claw.
Ooh, Allison, can you zoom in on that claw-looking one?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah, the one which earlier you guys were talking about. That one looked like he was gonna attack the other little.
He might be going after this one. Look at that action. Woo! Run away! Run away!
Yeah. So that is we call that a crayfish. And crayfish live in our waterways. I found them in a lot of the creeks here in Solano County.
To me, when I first saw them, I was gonna say they look so cute.
You know,
They are
I think they're cute, Mason. I think they're really cute, but that's just me. But they also look like a mini beast, don't they? With all their like.
I have a friend. Her name is Aurora, but she moved out of her school, and she showed me that she has a snail which only breathes underwater. She has like
Wow.
a giant container, and then she filled it up with water, and then she put a snail in there, and it survived.
And hey,
Well, a water
Allison,
snail. She found it like.
hey, Allison, you have some snails that are living underwater, right?
I do. Like this one right here. It's even sticking to the bottom a little bit.
Wow.
There's some. That looks like a rock from this distance over here.
Yeah.
It probably wants to look like a rock though, huh? It probably doesn't want to get eaten
Yeah.
by birds or fish. So it's probably doing that on purpose.
Yeah, so it can hide from like prey, from like the enemy.
Predators.
Not like the enemy, but predators, yeah. And all of these little critters are a really important part of our food chain and our food web. So we'll talk about that a little bit later today. Okay, I want to see if
Thank you.
anyone else wants to share before I start going over some of the main critters, the main mini beasts that I see when I go out collecting. And maybe before we do that, while we're waiting for people to share, I want to ask Allison, how did you even go out and collect this stuff? Like, what if our friends joining us want to go out and look for mini beasts? How do they do that?
Yeah, that is a great, great question. Let me turn my camera back on here. Hello, can you see me?
Yes.
Great. So when we were in the creek, you know, I have a son, he's almost 3 years old, and he loves to bring a net, and he comes in and he's just trying to catch things left and right. But I noticed he was never catching anything when he was just swooshing in the water. So when I started noticing those snails that were on the rocks, it made me wonder, are there more animals maybe in the rocks? So I started to pick up the rocks, and I had just this little fishing net, and I put it in the water with the water running through it this way, so it was making it flag back. So the water is flowing in this way. And I started to rub the rocks so that the water would bring whatever was clinging on it into the net.
Wow, that's so smart.
Yeah. And then I also noticed that there were a lot of things living in the green stuff that someone was talking about, all the different types of plant matter. This is filamentous algae, kind of looks like a long beard, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of creatures were actually crawling on this. So I started to rub it in the water too, so that the water could bring it into the net.
And then hey, Allison?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a comment that it's hard for people to see you. I'm wondering, can we make your screen look bigger so that people can really see that algae that you're holding?
Yeah, let me see here. Let me turn off. Thank you, everybody, for that input. Let me turn off. And if you're on a cell phone or something, you might have to kind of slide to the left so that you can see multiple. Hi, Layla, I'm glad you can see me. Now, can you see my feet?
We have a very cool setup here. It takes a lot of work to show you these mini bees. So thank you, Allison, for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have a cell phone, 2 computers, a microscope. I'm ready. Okay, so let me try that again for our friends who are curious about how I did this. So here's the little fishing net that I had in the water, and the water was flowing this way into the net. So I would take the rock and I would rub the rocks in the water so that the water would carry whatever was on the rocks into the net. And then let me give it a quick squeeze so it doesn't drip all over me. The filamentous algae, so this is a type of plant that grows in the water. You might have seen it, and a lot of people are like, ew, that's so gross. But
it looks like hair.
It does.
It looks just like hair. How cool.
Should this be my new hairstyle?
For today, yeah.
All right. So the algae, I just rubbed it, and then the water would bring whatever was on the algae into the net.
Cool. Okay. And I'm going to ask our friends, does anyone want to come on and share last minute what they observed in the tray before I tell you what a lot of the stuff we looked at really is? Does anyone else want to share? I know we had James's students come on and share, and I'm seeing a lot of friends in the chat. Do any of you want to come on and share?
Yeah, I see Layla would like to join us. So Layla, I'm going to unmute you. Do you want to come on camera too? Hi, Layla.
Hey, Layla.
Hey.
Hi. So I want to share that in my notebook I wrote down some things.
Wow.
And one of the things I noticed was that one of the critters kind of looked like a small lobster to me.
Yeah, it did. That little crayfish, right? It almost looked like a little miniature lobster.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Layla. Thank you for coming on and sharing.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, we got to explore some critters, and I've been in the field the last couple weeks looking at these mini beasts for many days, going to creeks all around our county. And what I did is I took some video footage. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a name to the face. So we're going to go over some of the main critters that I see over and over and over again here in Solano County. Okay. So let me share my PowerPoint with you. All right. Can everyone see my PowerPoint? Allison, can you see my PowerPoint?
I can. Sorry, I was addressing some issues for some other folks.
Okay, cool.
I want to ask, because I really appreciate everybody commenting on the viewpoint. So And can you let me know what you can see? Like, do you see the slideshow and Miss Morgan? Do you see the slideshow and both of us? Just type that in the chat real quick. I want to make sure this is a good experience for you.
Oh, they can see the video too. Cool.
Okay, great. Go for it. Yay!
Yay. Okay. So, as you can see, there are a lot of critters living in our waterways. And a lot of these critters are insects. And they're kind of like butterflies. So butterflies, as you all probably know, they start their life as a fat little caterpillar, right? A chubby little caterpillar, and then they grow up to be a beautiful butterfly. So you'll notice that that is the trend that we see with these critters that live in our waterways too. So this is a critter that is really sensitive to pollution. So pollutants are things like trash or chemicals that people might put in the water. But I see them in our creeks a lot, which is a good thing, right? Because they are really sensitive. So that means that a lot of our creeks are in good shape. And this one is called a small minnow mayfly. Okay. Now I am going to play my video that I took of this. Well, I didn't take it. My friend Doug Darling took it. He's the pro videographer. So check this out. I want you to watch how it's swimming, because that's how I can tell what a small minnow is. All right. Oh, it's kind of fluttering around, huh? What do you notice about the small minnow mayfly? It's fast. Yeah, it is really, really fast. And I love all the different colors. So right here, I'm gonna pause it. I want you to notice how many legs this critter has. Can anyone count? How many legs does this small minnow mayfly have? Oh, I'm seeing multiple responses. Yes, 6. So 6 is the magic number. Any small critter that has 6 legs is an insect. So this small minnow mayfly is a little insect. And it lives most of its life underwater. Actually, small minnows are trout's like favorite food ever. Trout love to eat small minnows. So they spend most of their lives underwater, and then when they're ready, they turn into an adult. And I have an adult picture of a small minnow mayfly over here in the upper left corner of the screen up top. And they're only an adult for some of them are only an adult for like a day. And then they mate, and that's it. And then they start their life cycle all over again. So this is a really cool critter in our waterways. And Allison, do you have a small minnow? Did you catch one when you were out in Poudre Creek?
I did. I'm working on getting it on the microscope right now. Let's check out the rest of the videos that you have, and then we'll look at my slides. Okay,
cool. So here is our small minnow mayfly. And some of them are teeny, 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 tiny, and some of them are a little bit bigger. So they kind of change, kind of like people, right? Some of us are bigger, some of us are smaller. Same thing with the small minnows. Okay, here is my next critter that I have for you today. It's called a scud. Scud. I'm gonna play my video, and I want to see what you notice about this scud. What are you noticing about the movement of the scud? Or the color, or the legs, or the body? What do you notice? Oh, I see someone said it's a fast swimmer. Kind of like the small minnow mayfly. Oh, it goes around in circles. Great observation. Yes, goes around in circles. How many legs does it have? Is it an insect? Does it have 6 legs? Oh, and I'm noticing it says, I noticed that it looks like a shrimp. Yeah. So these guys are related to shrimps. And I see that people are noticing that it's yellow. Someone said it reminds them of a hamster. Oh, and I see someone answered my question. They said, I noticed that it has more than 6 legs. So it is not an insect, right? So it's not like an insect like our small minnow mayfly. And let me show you again how fast they move. And these scuds are really, really important for the ecosystem in our waterways. They actually break down plants and animals into smaller parts for other animals to eat. We call them like detritivores. That's a fancy word. So they break things down. They're breaking down other foods in the water. And I believe Allison also has some scuds that she can show us a little bit later too. Oh, and I love this frozen shot of the scud because you can see its eyes and its antenna coming out of its head and all the little legs on the sides. I wonder how old they get. That's a great question, Layla. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how old they get, but I'm gonna have to look that up. And I've seen them in different colors, different sizes, and they kind of zoom around the water. Another thing that we call them is side swimmers because a lot of the time when I find them, they're swimming on their sides in circles. So that's how I know it's a scud, because the way that it moves. Okay. I am gonna move on to our next critter that I see a lot. And I actually saw this one in Allison's tray. So this is called a damselfly, very similar to a dragonfly. So make sure my sound is off here. There we go. Now look at this beautiful critter. What do you notice about the damselfly? What are you noticing? Can you tell if this damselfly is an insect? Oh, and I had someone go on and say, scuds live for 1 year. Thank you for sharing with that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, and I see someone raising their hand. Let's see. Allison, would you mind, someone is raising their hand. They want to share with us what they notice about the damselfly.
Yeah, you got it. Where'd the hand go?
Oh no, maybe they put it back down. Wah, wah.
If you want to come on, raise your hand, please.
So damselflies, oh,
Yeah,
it's
there
Chloe.
we go. Thanks,
Yeah.
Chloe. All right, Chloe, I am making it so that you can share.
And maybe while we're waiting for Chloe to come on, as I'm going through all these critters, I want you can draw them in your notes. You can use drawing and words to help you make your observations as I'm going through each of these critters. I'm excited to hear from Chloe. Oh, hey, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe, we can't see or hear you. There you are. Okay, seeing you now.
Oh no, Chloe, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah. Hey, Chloe, if you could just type what you want to share with us in the chat. We'll look to your comment there. We're having a hard time hearing you, dear, but thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to come on with us.
Okay, I have a question for you all looking at our damselfly here. Do you think that this damselfly is a type of insect? Remember to look at the number of legs. 6 legs is the magic number. Oh, I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing some yeses. Yes, yes, yes. Unanimous, yes. So a damselfly is a kind of insect. So they live a long time underwater, just like our mayfly. And then they emerge into this beautiful adult. And you can see the adult right up in the right corner of my screen, that blue adult. That is a damselfly. They look really similar to dragonflies. They're like cousins. But this is how you can tell the difference, okay? So with a dragonfly, when it's resting on a plant, dragonflies always have their wings out like this. But damselflies have their wings up. So if you're not sure, just look at the wings. Damselflies have their wings up, dragonflies have their wings out. All right, Allison, and how's the microscope doing? Should I keep sharing my videos, or are you ready to share with us?
I am ready to share some scope action, assuming my critters stop wiggling around. They are wigglers. All right, so let me get that going for y'all.
I'm so excited. Here, I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint so you can share your microscope.
Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen, everyone? Okay.
I see a yes, yes.
Excellent. Okay, so this is actually a part of the small minnow mayfly.
What?
Yeah, it will be a little blurry. I'll try to make it better. It's kind of tricky. Oh, and it moved away from me. So the spiky spikes on the side, can anybody make a guess of what that might be?
Huh. It reminds me of like a comb.
A comb, like a hair comb?
Yeah, it reminds me of a comb. I can't tell what that is.
That's funny.
Ooh, I hear a thought. Someone said for protection.
Good.
That's a really good guess. Protection. Any other guesses? Oh, maybe the legs. Yeah, could be the legs or arms. Love it.
Sorry, it's a wiggle worm. Trying to find it again. Is it? There we go. More action. So the parts that we were looking at, Miss Morgan, do you want to tell them what they are? They were oval shaped and along the abdomen, which is the stomach.
Whoa, sorry, your screen is distracting me. Oh, maybe, let's see, I'm seeing some more guesses. Maybe a nice hairdo. Yeah, maybe they're trying to impress somebody. Or some critter, some beast. Maybe it is there to catch prey. Ooh. Wow, your microscope is like, I'm seeing a lot of dark spots. What are we looking at right now? Oh, I see. You're trying to focus on the teeny tiny parts of that mayfly. Wow. And I hear one more guess. It says a student says that it looks like teeth. So those small, right now we're looking at something different, but the thing that we were looking at before was actually the gills. of the small minnow mayfly. So insects, in order to survive in the water, they need gills, just like fish have the gills to help them breathe. So a lot of these insects also have gills, but they're kind of in weird places. Like the small minnow has it along its abdomen or like its stomach area. That would be like if our lungs were in our tummy and we were like breathing in through our tummy. Wow, what are we looking at right now?
This is actually the end of the abdomen. So this would be their tail area.
Oh, nice. And this is actually another way that you can tell what a small minnow looks like, is the number of tails that it has.
He's really fast, keeps moving around.
I know.
Here.
This looks like a hard job.
It is a hard job, thank you. I'm gonna put someone else on board.
Oh, I'm so excited to see what you're gonna put on.
Oh, maybe not. He went flying. Let's see. Here, I'll put the minnow back on while I reload.
Or maybe I can talk about some of my other critters, because I'm noticing that it's 10:49. Time goes by fast when we're looking at these critters, huh?
Go for it.
Okay, I am gonna share my screen so we could learn about more critters that live in our waterways. Okay, so we learned about the small minnow mayfly. We learned about scuds, the shrimpy looking friends, and we learned about damselflies. So next up, we have something called a water mite. Water mite. Okay, now these are teeny tiny. And even though we had a really good camera to help capture this video, you're gonna have to look pretty closely. And I want you to share what you observe. Okay, I'm gonna play the video. Yeah, there it goes. See how tiny it is? And that's magnified. Oh, and I see Layla's raising her hand. Layla wants to share what she's observing. Oh, I see someone said, it looks like a ladybug. It kind of does look like a ladybug, doesn't it?
All right, Layla, I'm bringing you on.
Oh, and a spider. Hey, Layla. Oh, you're muted. Make sure to unmute yourself, Layla.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to share that I noticed the water mite kind of looks like a tick, except it's not black and it's fast. But the only thing that's not like a tick is that it lives in water.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I even see someone in our chat said it looks like a spider. And these water mites are actually arachnids, which is the group of spiders and ticks and mites. But these do not suck your blood like a tick. So they are teeny tiny. They're also really important for our waterways. And when they're all grown up, like this one's all grown up, it's an herbivore, which means that it just is munching on plants.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So does any other critter eat a water mite or no?
I would guess yes. Our damselfly friends are carnivores, so they eat other insects in the water. So I bet that damselflies eat water mites. Ducks, like our duck friends, would probably eat water mites, or any birds that live in our waterways would probably eat them up pretty quickly.
Oh.
If they can find them, because they're really small.
Oh.
Thanks, Layla, for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yay, thanks. Okay. Anyone else want to share what they noticed about the water mite? I'll give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to move on to my next critter, my next mini beast. And the water mites, they're like moving around, like they look like they're dancing or something. Whoa.
Can you dance like a water mite?
Someone said it looks like they have 2 black dots. Yeah, I wonder why that is. I actually don't know the answer to that question. And I will say, friends, that a lot of these mini beasts that live in our waterways, there are still new things that scientists are learning about them every single day. So even when I was just doing some quick research on them online, I couldn't find a lot of information just because scientists haven't discovered it yet. So maybe you can be the next scientist to discover new things about our aquatic mini beasts.
Hey, Miss Morgan, I have something new on the microscope. Do you think we
You
should
do?
share?
Yeah, I would love to. Here, let me stop sharing my my PowerPoint. Oh, I see someone said, I wonder if the black dots are eyes. That's interesting. I don't know. Oh, whoa. That looks like a mini beast if I've ever seen one. What is that?
Let's see if any of our friends can take a guess.
I'm gonna have to think about this one, and I'm the expert here, supposedly. Whoa. It reminds me of like an alien.
Someone guessed a shrimp, the head part of a bug. I'll give you a hint. It's one that Miss Morgan showed us in the video.
Is it a scud?
It is a scud. And
yes.
yeah, Miss Bezos, I totally agree. It does look like it has fly legs, like the little tiny hairs on it.
You know, I wonder if those little tiny hairs are used to capture little food particles in the water.
Oh, that is an interesting hypothesis.
And a hypothesis is just a fancy word for a guess. Mm-hmm. So you can hypothesize every single day of your life.
Look at that. It has all these tentacle-y things coming out.
I wonder if it's eating. Kind of looks like it. This is what I do when I'm hungry.
Let me check in on YouTube to see if anybody has a comment there. Does anybody have any questions on YouTube?
Looks like fly legs. Someone guessed a shrimp. Whoever guessed a shrimp was on it because scuds are related to shrimp. A monster.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. A water mite. Yeah, I was also thinking that maybe it was a water mite, but then I saw way too many legs. So water mite only have 8 legs, just like spiders. I forgot to mention that before.
All right. Well, I know Miss Morgan may want to wrap up, but I want to ask, since we have everybody here, you know, it's almost been an hour. Do you want to look at some more, or like, you know, we could stick around for another 5 or so minutes and you can stick around with us, or if you have to go, you can go, but we hope you stay.
I see a vote for more.
Yes, please. I love it.
Okay, cool, because I have some more videos and more fun facts that I would love to share.
Sounds great. I will get some more critters on my microscope slides while you share those. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Miss Morgan.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so just a quick recap. We learned about small minnow mayflies. Small minnow mayflies. And these are really important, like I said, for trout. So a lot of fishermen will actually use little bait that looks like small minnows because trout love to eat them so much. So when they go fishing for trout, they want to have a little bait on their fishing pole that looks just like a small minnow. We learned about scuds, our shrimpy looking friends with lots and lots of legs that swim around in circles. We learned about our beautiful damselflies that turn into really cool adults. We also learned that they're carnivores, so they munch on other critters, even when they're adults too. And we learned about water mites, which are related to spiders and ticks and little mites that you see on land. And we learned, that they like to munch on plants when they're adults. Okay, now this next one, this is one of my favorites. And I saw that Allison had so many of these in her tray that she caught, and I was surprised. Because when I go out, maybe I'll catch one. What was that, Allison?
I was gonna say it's perfect because that's exactly what I am putting onto the microscope right now.
We are in sync. Okay, so let me show you my video. I want to see what you notice about the flatworm. Okay, I'm gonna play my video. I just love their eyes. I'm just gonna say that. I think they have the cutest little face.
So they do have eyes. Are they eyes like our eyes?
You know, I'm actually not sure. That is actually something that scientists don't really know. See how they're kind of cross-eyed? Scientists don't know why that is. So maybe you can discover that. So what do you notice about the flatworm? I saw Layla raised her hand. Anyone else want to share in the chat?
I see some good noticing. It looks like a long stingray, but it moves like a slug.
Someone wonders that it maybe makes them see better. Ooh, maybe. Moves like a slug. They're pretty cute. I think so too. Any other observations that you notice about our flatworm? I will say that they're pretty hard to come by because they camouflage really well. They blend into the bottom of creeks.
Yeah,
and even though
I only find them on rocks.
Ooh. Yeah, even though this one is moving around a lot, sometimes they just clump up into a big blob and they're really hard to, you can't see them unless they start moving. How did we find it? How did you find this?
Yeah, so I picked up a rock, and it was kind of funny because the rock had some holes inside of it, and I noticed that there was another little critter inside, and hopefully I can zoom in on one of those here in a moment. But while I was looking at that, I started noticing that there was slime, and then the slime started to move. And so I rubbed the rock and started to put them into my net as I rubbed them in the water.
Thank you for sharing that. And I have a question here and a comment that maybe it uses its tail to feed. So their mouths are actually on the other side of their body, the side that's crawling or sliding on the ground. And believe it or not, these little flatworms are carnivores too. So they only eat living things that are tiny enough to fit into their mouth.
They're also very, very wiggly. I can't keep them on the camera.
And I will say that if these get cut, if their body just gets chopped, they will just grow a whole new body. Let's see, I have a question here. Do flatworms come in different colors? So from my observations, from what I've noticed out in the field, I've only seen them in this brown kind of color. But flatworms in general, they're a huge group. A lot of flatworms live in the ocean, and they come in all kinds of colors. But the freshwater ones that I've seen kind of just look brown like this, like a starfish. Okay, Allison, let me know when you're ready to show us our flatworm. I'm gonna move on to my next video here and I'll just wait for your signal.
I think if we can try it, let's try
Okay.
to show them.
Okay, let's try.
Because right now it looks like a whole bunch of gooey cells, which is kind of cool.
I think that's important too because they kind of look gooey as well. So we should definitely check that out. Oh, and I'm seeing that someone noticed that they can stretch out. Yeah, kind of like we're stretching our arms. They kind of do that too.
All right, moving super fast. Come here. Come here.
And this is the tricky thing about microscopes that have really good magnification like this. It's kind of hard to find the critter sometimes. Oh,
did you see that?
I saw the edge of it, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, there it is.
Let's see.
Whoa. Look at the color on that. Like, I just thought it was just plain old brown, but there are so many different like shades of brown and black. So cool. Layla said, it looks like it's made up of tiny dots.
It does. I think so too, Layla. Where'd you go now?
Whoa. Whoa. I think it's probably trying to blend into the ground, huh? Like it kind of looks like little pieces of dirt to me, or it reminds me of dirt.
Very cool. Okay, I'm gonna take the flatworm off.
Yeah, that one's a little hard to see, huh? Okay, let's see what I have next here on my queue. Let me share my screen with you all. Bum, bum, bum. Oh. 1 second. Share screen. Okay, so next up, we have something called a black fly. I'm going to show you a video of one of these. Now, these are really common in our creeks. They are actually really used to pollution. So they can live in like really pristine creeks with no pollution at all. But if the creek is really polluted, they could also live in there. So they can live in all kinds of creeks and waterways. I just saw a comment there. Let's see. It looks like it's made of, okay, cool. Looks like bones. Yeah, it does kind of look like bones, huh? And these are funny because they kind of like stick to the bottom of surfaces, and they have little fans that they put out, kind of like Mickey Mouse ears on their head. And they use that to grab little particles in the water to feed on. They remind me of worms, not flies. Well, a lot of worms, kind of like butterflies, start their life as worms. So flies start their lives as worms and then they turn into flies. Even mosquitoes do that. Mosquito eaters do that. All kinds of flies do that. To move, they curse up and down and then they uncurl. Oh, they curl up and down. Got it.
Yeah, they kind of look like they bend at the hip, but they don't have hips.
Yeah, these are pretty neat.
I have one on the microscope if you'd like to see.
I would like to see, yeah. Their shape kind of reminds me of a bowling pin. Like it's like curvy at one side. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
All right, let me re-find him. He moved in just those few seconds.
They're so fast. It looks like it's doing a sit-up. Yeah, it is. It's like,
there go.
Whoa! I've never seen a black fly this close up before.
Stay still.
Looks so cool. Yeah, I agree.
So there are those
Whoa.
whiskers that they use to catch their food, huh?
That's so cool.
I mean, can you believe that this animal turns into a fly? Like it ends up with wings. And it started its whole life in the water. That is amazing.
I know. Insects truly live like the coolest lives ever. Like I can't imagine starting as like a little caterpillar and then turning into like a winged adult.
Yeah. So Tamanveer, the two things that you see sticking out, they're called filaments. And they're like little cat whiskers that they stick out of their face to capture food. So when it has particles sticking to it, they bring it back into their mouth and swallow it.
So weird. It's so cool. Are they related to cats? No. Cats are actually vertebrates, so cats are closer related to us than this fly. I know, sad face. Okay. Should I show my other cool critters that I have?
Yeah, I was gonna see if we could possibly see the hooks on the end that are used to keep them attached. Almost there.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Yeah, every time I see them, they're really stuck onto like a rock or onto a plant. And even though the water is moving really quickly, they do a really good job of just staying in place.
You can kind of see the little hooks. They're in the middle, kind of that open.
Whoa. It reminds me of like a fishing hook.
What about you out there? What do you notice?
Oh.
Very cool. Okay. Miss
Great.
Morgan, you're up.
Okay.
All right, we'll do 5 more minutes for everyone. So 'cause we seem to have a lot of interest still.
Okay, so next up, this is another fly friend that is also pretty tolerant to pollution, can handle a lot of pollution, but is also found in like super clean creeks. And these are like so diverse, like they live in the ocean in salty water, they live in fresh water, they feed on all kinds of different things. They're just all over the place. So these are called midges, a midge. And I see these every time I go out to collect little mini bees. So watch it. It's gonna get exciting in just a little bit. I want you to pay attention to how this midge moves around. Oh. Oh, there it goes. What do you notice? How is it moving around? It's going crazy. It moves in spasms. It bends and snaps.
Can you do that? I think everyone should try to do the bend and snap.
I don't know about that. Is this a mosquito larva? So that's a good question. They do kind of look like mosquitoes, but these are called gnats. So you've definitely seen these out while you're going on a hike or you're outside. They hang out in kind of like big clumps, and they're teeny, teeny, tiny flies. So they're related to mosquitoes. And I've seen them in all kinds of colors. So this one's kind of yellowish. I've seen them in like red and green. I've seen them swimming freely. I've also seen them hiding, and they make like a little house for themselves in the dirt. So they're really cool. Very, very diverse, very big group of flies. Midges. Okay. And next up, oh, this is one of my favorites, actually. This is called a case-making caddisfly. Check this one out.
Is that the water mite in there?
Yeah, there is also a water mite in there.
Look at that! Do you see that? So, Miss Morgan, does that mean the rocks, the little tiny rocks that I found on my big rock, could be one of those things?
It could be. So these, they actually make little homes for themselves out of little rocks and little pieces of sand. So we call these case-making caddisflies. And you can see the mite is kind of crawling all over it there.
That is very true, Miss Bezos. You seeing how small the water mite is in comparison to even these critters. And Miss Morgan, are they being filmed in a bottle cap?
They are being filmed in a bottle cap, yeah.
So they're inside of a bottle cap, which is already pretty small, like the size of a quarter usually.
Yes, and they're a little speck in there.
There's a question about why do they make holes?
Why do they make holes? So they make a little hole so they can go in and out, so they can catch food, eat food, but then hide in their little house if something's trying to eat them.
So it's like their own little mobile home.
Yes, it's like their own little mobile home. And now these are really sensitive to pollution. So you can only find these in like very special, very clean creeks. This one was actually filmed in Vallejo, up in Sulphur Springs Creek, up by the Hidden Brook community up in the hills. So if you're from Vallejo, you can find this critter around your community. Very cool.
Now, are all the caddisflies in cases, or can some of them be out of cases?
They're not all in cases, and some of them make different cases too. So let me show you here. So this one, for example, this one is called a net spinning caddisfly. So this is also a caddisfly, but it doesn't live in a case.
You know what? I think I have that on my microscope right now.
No way.
Seriously.
These are so cool because they're kind of like spiders. They build silk webs underwater, and they use those webs to capture little tiny food particles in the water. Just like a spider catches flies or whatever in its web, they do the same thing, but they're not a spider at all. They're a kind of insect. So here, let me stop sharing my screen so that you can show your microscope.
Yeah, and Ms. Bazos just said, so finding these means the water is clean.
Yes.
Yeah, so when we find small minnow mayflies and caddisflies and stoneflies, which are really hard to find in Solano County, that usually means the water is clean enough for the animals to live in.
Exactly. And that's actually one way that we can tell the water is clean. Instead of doing like a fancy chemical test that we have to pay a lot of money for, we can just look at what's living in the creek, which is really cool.
All right.
Whoa, tell me what's happening there in the microscope.
Yeah, so right now it's focused on kind of the tummy side. Like its bottom, its back is harder, or at least it looks harder. So right now it's curled up in a ball on its side, and
Wow.
we're looking at its stomach, which I'm noticing is really like hairy.
Yeah.
And then there are also these other kind of oval shaped structures that are flapping around. Bye, Layla.
Bye, Layla. Thank you for joining us.
You can watch the rest of this. We'll have it on YouTube.
Yes.
So I noticed that those move a little bit too, and it reminds me of the little ovals that were on the small minnow mayfly. So I'm wondering if those are its gills, like how it breathes.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that those net spinning caddisfly have a lot of hairs on their body to help them catch that food and eat that food. So I know that, but I'm not sure where the gills are located. We'll have to look that up.
Look at that.
So weird in the best way. There's so much movement happening.
Yeah. I know, and it's moving slower on the screen. If you saw it in person, it's really, really fast. Like,
Whoa. Like a heartbeat?
faster.
Wow.
Very good. All right. Well, I am going to take this off so that we can wrap up and let folks go. This has been really, really, really fun.
Great. So let me share my screen. So we learned about so many different critters that live in our waterways, and there are even more that we didn't have time to learn about today, which is crazy. And these aquatic mini beasts are so important because, like we talked about, they actually help tell us if the water is clean. And they play a huge role in our food web, in our food chain, because things feed them, they feed on things. Some of them, like the scuds, even create food by breaking down little particles in the water. So they are super, super important for our waterways. And if you liked looking at our critters, I want you to remember that on our streets, we have these storm drains that drain all the storm water. And if anything gets left on our streets, like trash or oil from people's cars or dog poop or any chemical, it goes into our creeks where these little mini beasts live. So we need to make sure that we are protecting our aquatic mini beasts that live in our waterways.
And just so everyone knows, I'm going to be putting these animals right back where I found them, which is really important to do. So
Yes.
I'm going to go to the same spot that I found them and give them back to their home.
Yep. And so if you go out and you collect these little mini beasts, make sure that you put them back in the water. We want them to keep living and thriving. Okay, before we go today, do you have any questions for me that I didn't get to answer? Any comments? Please raise your hand or put them in the chat. You can also email us at education@solonorcd.org. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Beatles. They're an awesome institution, and they actually came up with the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of activity, which we use all the time. All right, any questions for me?
Chloe, I love your question. When are we doing this again? Let us talk to our big boss person and see if that's maybe something that we can do again. We definitely are hoping to see students in person in the fall, but if we are not able to, we're going to be doing lots of classes online. So we're going to talk to teachers out there and figure things out. But look for information from your teachers, or if you follow us online. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. So if you have permission to look at those things, you can check it out, and you can always go to our website, solonorcd.org.
And I see a question, do they help the water? Do these critters help the water? That's a really interesting question. I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. Allison, can you help me out?
You know, there's that word ecosystem, which is an area of its living and non-living parts, and they're always interconnected somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of how they can help the water, I know that they could help out other life as part of the food web. I'm gonna bring my camera on here.
Yeah, like the birds and all the other critters in the water, frogs, anything that relies on the water. Basically anything that lives around water is probably feeding on these little critters in our waterways.
And some of the organisms, they do filter out particles, which helps with what we call turbidity, which is how cloudy the water is with other debris. But you know, it's not to a ginormous scale unless you have, I don't know, a billion trillion black flies in there with their whiskers capturing all of those things. But then, of course, whatever they do eat passes through the other end. So, yeah, that's a great question. I hope that came from one of your students, Mr. Quinn. If not, thank you for the question. And we'll look into see, great. I'm so glad that it came from one of your students. Yeah, we'll look into a little bit more. Maybe there's some research out there about how it helps the water itself, not just the other living parts of it.
Yeah, but they help the other living parts quite a lot. A lot of creatures rely on these tiny little mini aquatic beasts to survive. So if they went away forever, then a lot of other critters that feed on them would also go away.
Very good. Okay, friends, well, we're going to let you go. Thanks so much for joining us. We've really enjoyed it. We appreciate the time to be able to share discoveries with you, and hopefully you'll go out there and keep making discoveries of your own. And remember, you can always use I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, to help you with those discoveries. And with one of the activities we did last week, we made our own field journals, so you can look at pictures or any living thing and draw them in a notebook and record your observations, and then you have your own field guide. So do that.
Yes, and please email me. I want to see your observations. I want to hear what you enjoyed. I check our email constantly, so please email me and let me know what you think.
Good. All right, have a good day. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your
Stay
summer
cool
break.
out there.